terminology that is called a cloning vector. What is vector? It's a vehicle to carry foreign gene from one cell to another. That is called vector. So we can call cloning vector or cloning vehicle. Bacteriophages and plasmids are the commonly used cloning vector. What is bacteriophage? The virus which infects the bacteria, that is called a bacteriophage. What is plasmid? It is the self-replicating circular double-stranded extra-chromosomal DNA found in bacteria or prokaryotic cell, that is called a plasmid. Plasmids are the self-replicating extracircular double-stranded chromosomal DNA. Is it clear? That is called a plasmid. So commonly used cloning vectors are plasmid vector, then another one is bacteriophage, then another one is the cosmate, transposon. These all are the different type of cloning vector. So here we are discussing about the plasmid vector. So plasmid vectors are the self-replicating extra-chromosomal circular double-stranded DNA. That is called a plasmid vector. The naturally occurring plasmid vectors are, one is col-E1, another one is Ti. Col-E1 is obtained from the E. coli, Escherichia coli. Naturally occurring plasmid vector, that is called a col-E1. That from where that is isolated? From E. coli. Col-E1 is isolated from the E. coli, Escherichia coli. Then another one is Ti plasmid from Agrobacterium tumefaciens. So there are two plasmid vector. One is called col-E1, another one is called Ti plasmid. Col-E1 is obtained from the bacterium Escherichia coli and Ti plasmid is obtained from the bacterium Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Is it clear? So the naturally occurring plasmid vectors do not possess all the features of cloning vector. Therefore, it may be reconstructed by inserting antibiotic resistant genes to make artificial cloning vector. Some of the examples for artificial cloning vector, that is called PBR322 and PUC80. PBR322 and PUC80. These two are the artificial cloning vector. So how this artificial cloning vector is developed? By inserting antibiotic resistant gene to col-E1 plasmid. Col-E1 is isolated from the Escherichia coli bacteria. Is it? So the col-E1 is one kind of plasmid vector. That is the naturally occurring plasmid vector. So they do not possess all the characteristic features of cloning vector. That is the reason why such a type of cloning vector is reconstructed by inserting the antibiotic resistant gene. One is called PBR322, another one is PUC18. What is PBR322? It is an artificial cloning vector that is reconstructed from the plasmid of E. coli. That is called PBR322. During reconstruction, three genes are added to col-E1. One is origin of replication. Another one is tetracycline resistant gene. Another one is ampicillin resistant gene. So these three genes are inserted in where? Col-E1 plasmid to make artificial cloning vectors, that is called PBR322. P stands for plasmid, B and R stands for Bolivar and Rodriguez. They were developed that particular plasmids. Is it clear? For constructing that particular artificial cloning vector PBR322, three genes were added. One is origin of replication, then another one is tetracycline resistant gene, and another one is ampicillin resistant gene. The naturally occurring plasmid doesn't have these kind of features. That is the reason why such kind of plasmids do not used in their genetic engineering. So we are going to discuss about the characteristics features of cloning vector. For act as a cloning vector, they need certain features. They need certain characters. What are the characters? One of the character is origin of replication or ORI. Then another one is selectable marker. Then another one is cloning site. So to act as a cloning vector, they need an origin of replication or ORI. They need a selectable marker. They need a cloning site. Look, this is one of the PBR322 cloning vector. Here origin of replication is there. Then another one, two selectable markers like tetracycline resistant gene and amphicycline resistant gene is there. Then cloning site, so different cloning sites are there. That is the recognition site. PST1, PVU1, ECOR1, CLA1, HIND3, BAM-H1, SAL1, PVU2. All are the recognition site or cloning site. So these all three features are needed for cloning vector. Is it clear? So one by one we can discuss. First one, origin of replication. What is origin of replication? The DNA sequence is responsible for starting replication. That is called origin of replication. Which means if the gene is inserted here, so the replication will start. So what is origin of replication? The DNA sequence is responsible for starting replication. That is called origin of replication, or we can call ORI. O-R-I, ORI. What are the features of ORI? One of the feature, ORI initiate the replication. ORI initiate the replication. Another one of the feature, a piece of DNA is linked to ORI can replicate within the host cell. If you introduce one of the gene to ORI, suddenly that particular ORI replicate within the host cell. The same day it control the copy number of linked DNA. These are the features of origin of replication. Next one, selectable marker. What is selectable marker? The gene which helping for identifying and eliminating non-transformant and allow the permitted growth of transformant. That is called a selectable marker. What is transformant? A bacterium which is modified to a foreign gene. That is called a transformant. The process through which the foreign gene is introduced into the bacterium. That is called transformation. So here the selectable marker gene helps to identifying and eliminating non-transformant and permitting the growth of what? Transformant. So they select the transformant from where? Non-transformant. Which means they eliminate the non-transformant. Only they select the what? Only they select the transformant one. Transformant means the recombinant or the modified foreign gene. Is it clear? Next we are discussing about the cloning site. What is cloning site? The recognition site where the alien DNA is inserted. That is called a cloning site. So the ligation of the alien DNA or the foreign DNA is carried out at a restriction site present in one of the two antibiotic resistant gene. We know that here the plasmid vector PBR322. So this is the ORI and there are two antibiotic resistant gene. One is called tetracycline resistant gene, another one is amphicycline resistant gene. Yes, these genes are resist against the antibiotic tetracycline and resist against the antibiotic amphicycline. There, one of the foreign gene is inserted here. This is the restriction site. You can consider this is BAM-H1 site. That is one of the restriction site. Is it? The ligation is carried out at a restriction site. So this is the restriction site present in one of the two antibiotic resistant gene. Is it clear? If suppose that particular ligation takes place in which site? Tetracycline resistant gene, what will happen? That particular foreign DNA lose their tetracycline resistance. Is it clear? One of the example, normal E. coli cell. The normal E. coli cells do not carry these two antibiotic resistant genes because that is non-transformant. What we call that normal E. coli is the non-transformant. Non-transformant. What is transformant? The bacterium that is modified through foreign gene, that is called a transformant. But the normal E. coli cells do not have two antibiotic resistant genes, so we can call that is the non-transformant. Is it clear? If PBR 322 is added to E. coli, that one become transformant. So they can grow on both the ampicillin resistant gene and the tetracycline resistant gene. Is it clear? Okay. If only the normal E. coli cell, in the case of normal E. coli cells, they do not have any of these two antibiotic resistant. That is the reason why that is non-transformant. But if the PBR 322 is added to E. coli, that will become transformant. So that particular case, this particular bacterium or the transformant can grow on both ampicillin resistant and tetracycline resistant medium. Is it clear? So these two selectable marker or marker gene can help to differentiating non-transformant from transformant. Is it clear? If a foreign DNA is added at a BAM H1 site of tetracycline resistant gene. So this is the PBR 322 plasmid vector. Is it clear? The foreign DNA is added at BAM H1 site. This is the BAM H1 site. BAM H1 site of tetracycline resistant gene. So here, which resistant gene is present? Ampicillin resistant gene is present. A foreign DNA is added at BAM H1 site of tetracycline resistance. What will happen? That foreign DNA lost the tetracycline resistance. Before I already mentioned the ligation of foreign DNA is carried out at a restriction site present in one of the two antibiotic resistant gene. So here that foreign DNA is ligated in which site? BAM H1 site of the tetracycline resistant gene. So that is the reason why that particular foreign DNA lost the antibiotic resistance. Which antibiotic resistance? Tetracycline resistance, and that particular foreign DNAs are grows in which medium? Ampicillin resistant medium. Is it clear? Hence that particular bacteriums will not grow on which medium? Tetracycline resistant medium, but that particular transformants grow on which medium? Ampicillin resistant medium. Because the reason the foreign DNA is added at BAM H1 site of the tetracycline resistant gene. So that particular foreign DNA lost the tetracycline resistance. That is the reason why that particular transformant will not grow in tetracycline resistant gene, but they are grows in which area? Ampicillin resistant gene. This is the way we can select the transformant from non-transformant. This method is called inactivation of antibiotics. This method is called inactivation of antibiotics. Next one, insertional inactivation. On the basis of color production in the presence of chromogenic substance, we can select the transformant from non-transformant. Every bacterial colony contains one of the enzyme that is called beta-galactosidase. Because of the presence of beta-galactosidase enzyme, the colony become blue color. This is one of the bacterial colony. Here blue colonies and white colonies are there. Blue colonies means there beta-galactosidase enzyme is present. White colonies means there no beta-galactosidase enzyme. If you introduce the foreign DNA within the coding sequence of the beta-galactosidase enzyme, that particular enzyme do not show any color. It become white color, which means there is transformant is present or recombinant is present. Understood? If the plasmodium bacteria have no insertion, which means we are not inserted any DNA, any recombinant DNA, the color become blue. This way we can select the recombinant from non-recombinant. So there are two ways we can select the recombinant from non-recombinant. One is insertional inactivation, another one is inactivation of antibiotics. Next one, gene transfer. What is gene transfer? transfer of gene from bacterium to eukaryotic cell, that is called gene transfer. There are two types of gene transfer. One is through vector, another one is vectorless gene transfer. First we are discussing about through vector. In the case of plants, the gene transfer can take place with the help of TI plasmid. TI plasmid is one kind of the vector that is obtained from the Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Look here, genetic tools of some pathogen is transformed into useful vector for delivering genes to plants and animals. Example, Agrobacterium tumefaciens, a pathogen of many dicot plants. And another one is retrovirus. Retrovirus mainly used in the animal case. Animal gene transfer takes place through the retrovirus. Then plants gene transfer that is takes place through the TI plasmid or Agrobacterium tumefaciens. So first one, in plants, Agrobacterium tumefaciens can deliver a piece of DNA to transform normal plant cell into a tumor. If you introduce this particular TI plasmid to a normal plant, what will happen? That particular normal plant become tumor plant. These tumor cells produce the chemicals required by the pathogen. That tumor cells produce the chemical required by the pathogen. Tumor inducing plasmid or TI plasmid of Agrobacterium tumefaciens is modified into a cloning vector which is not pathogenic but can use the mechanism to deliver genes to interest into a plant. So we can say that in plants we are using TI plasmid to transfer gene from one to another. Then another one, retrovirus. What is retrovirus? Retrovirus in animals can transform normal cell into cancerous cell. Retrovirus in animals can transfer normal cell into cancerous cell. So they are used to deliver desirable gene into animal cell. This is the two type of vector transfer. So in plants, TI plasmid is used to transfer the gene, and in animals, retrovirus is used to transfer the gene. Another one type of the method, vectorless method. Vectorless method means without using the vector we can transfer the gene from one bacterium to other cell. There are three ways we can transfer the gene from other cell without using the vector. One is called micro-injection, another one is biolistic or gene gun method, another one is disarmed pathogen vector. What is micro-injection? The foreign DNA or recombinant DNA is directly injected into the nucleus of an animal cell. So first of all, that particular recombinant DNA or the foreign DNA is directly injected into the nucleus of the animal cell. That is called a microinjection. In this case, we are not using any kind of the vector. So we can say that this is the vectorless method. First one, biolistic or gene gun method. What is biolistic or gene gun method? It is the vectorless gene transfer method. The cells are bombarded with the high velocity microparticles of gold or tungsten coated with the DNA. This method is suitable in plants. So in plants we are using which type of method? Biolistic or gene gun method. So what is the specialty of that particular method? DNA is coated with the gold or tungsten particle. After that, in high velocity we are sending that particular DNA to where? Nucleus of the plant cell. That is called biolistic or gene gun method. This is gene gun. Then another one, disarmed pathogen vector. What is disarmed pathogen vector? When it infects the cell, transfer recombinant DNA into the host. What is pathogen? The substance which cause disease. That is called a pathogen. Disarmed pathogen means the substance do not cause disease. That is called disarmed pathogen. So the disarmed pathogen vector means when it infects the cell. Disarmed pathogen means when it infects the cell, that particular cell transfer recombinant DNA into the host. Next one, competent host. What is competent host? The ability to take genes and plasmid from outside, that is called competence. The cells which are capable to take up alien DNA from outside, that is called a competent host. DNA is hydrophilic molecule. That is the reason why it cannot pass through the cell membrane. Because of the hydrophilic molecule, we already know that the structure of the cell membrane. Is it? So DNA is hydrophilic molecule. Hydrophilic means what? Water lovable molecule. Is it? So that is the reason why it cannot pass through the cell membrane. So the bacterial cell must be made competent to take up alien DNA or plasmid. Because of the hydrophilic condition, we should make that particular bacterial cell competent to take up alien DNA or plasmid. How can we make? For that bacterial cells is treated with a specific concentration of divalent cation, that is called calcium. After that, that DNA is enters into the bacterium through pores in the cell wall. First of all, that particular DNA, foreign DNA, we are going to introduce the foreign DNA to the host cell. We already know that the DNA is actually hydrophilic. So that particular DNA is hydrophilic. That is the reason why that will not pass through the cell membrane. DNA hydrophilic molecule ആയതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ അത് സെൽ മെംബ്രെയിനിലൂടെ പാസ് ചെയ്ത് പോകത്തില്ല. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ആ ബാക്ടീരിയൽ സെല്ലിനെ നമുക്ക് DNA പറയുന്ന ഫോറിൻ DNA എടുക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടി അതിനെ കോമ്പറ്റന്റ് ഹോസ്റ്റ് ആക്കി മാറ്റണം. അതിനായിട്ട് ആദ്യം നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യുന്നത് അത്തരത്തിലുള്ള ബാക്ടീരിയൽ സെൽസുകളെ ഒരു ഡൈവാലന്റ് കാറ്റയോൺ, ഹൈലി കോൺസെൻട്രേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഡൈവാലന്റ് കാറ്റയോൺ അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ബാക്ടീരിയയുടെ സെൽ വോളിലുള്ള ആ പോറുകളുടെ സൈസ് കൂടുകയും അതുവഴി ആ പറയുന്ന DNA എങ്ങോട്ട് എത്തിച്ചേരുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നു, ബാക്ടീരിയൽ സെല്ലിലേക്ക് എത്തിച്ചേരുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നു. We can introduce the foreign DNA into the bacterial cells in different ways. We already explained through gene transfer, another one vectorless gene transfer. Then another one technique, heat shock method. DNAയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ആ പറയുന്ന ബാക്ടീരിയൽ സെൽസിനെയും ഐസിൽ വളർത്തിയിട്ട് അതിൽ 42 ഡിഗ്രി സെൽഷ്യസിൽ വെക്കുന്നു. അതിനുശേഷം അതിനെ വീണ്ടും ഐസിൽ വെക്കുന്നു. That method is called heat shock method. Such cells are incubated with the recombinant DNA on ice. Then they are placed briefly at 42 degrees Celsius and put them back on ice. So this enables the bacteria to take up the recombinant DNA. This is the way we can introduce the foreign DNA into the bacterial cell. Is it clear? This one also one kind of the vectorless method. Next we are going to discuss about the process of recombinant DNA technology. It involves isolation of the genetic material, that is DNA. Then another one, cutting of DNA at a specific location, amplification of gene of interest using PCR, insertion of recombinant DNA into host cell, obtaining the foreign gene product, and finally the downstream processing. First step is isolation of the genetic material DNA. We know that in many organisms the genetic material is DNA. It is located inside the cell or it is located inside the nucleus. It has to be obtained the pure form of DNA and free from other macromolecules such as lipids, then RNA, protein, polysaccharide. How can we remove this type of macromolecules? To break open the cells, following enzymes are using. If it is a bacterial cell, that bacterial cells are treated with an enzyme lysozyme. If it is a plant cell, that is treated with an enzyme cellulase enzyme. If it is a fungal cell, that is treated with an enzyme chitinase enzyme. Macromolecules like RNA. RNA can be removed by treating with a ribonuclease enzyme. Proteins are removed by treating with a proteases enzyme. Other molecules are removed by appropriate treatments. So in this way we can remove such kind of macromolecules from DNA to make the pure form of DNA. After several treatments, the purified DNA is precipitated by adding ethanol. When chilled ethanol is added, purified DNA precipitate out as fine thread in the suspension. That is the way we can prepare the purest form of DNA. The next step is cutting of DNA at specific location. We already explained about the cutting of DNA at specific location by using the enzyme, restriction enzyme. As a result, the DNA digests, DNA fragments are separated by the technique called gel electrophoresis. What is gel electrophoresis? It is the technique that separates the DNA fragments according to their size under the influence of electric field. So in this way we can separate the DNA fragments. Next step, amplification of gene of interest using PCR. So we already got the different fragments of DNAs. According to their size, we already separated by the help of gel electrophoresis techniques. The next step is amplification of gene of interest using PCR. What is PCR? Polymerase chain reaction. It is the synthesis of multiple copies of the gene of interest in vitro using two sets of primer and enzyme DNA polymerase. For PCR, we required following materials. One is primer. What is primer? It is chemically synthesized oligonucleotide. That is called a primer. Another one is DNA template. What is DNA template? The double-stranded DNA molecule it acts as a template strand. Then another one is two set of primer. Primers are the chemically synthesized oligonucleotide. Another one is the enzyme DNA polymerase. These are the materials required for polymerase chain reaction. Primers are small chemically synthesized oligonucleotide that are complementary to the region of DNA. So the steps involved in the process of PCR, the first one is denaturation, followed by annealing and extension. These are the three important steps involved in the process of PCR. What are they? Denaturation, annealing, extension. What is denaturation? Listen here, denaturation. It is the heating of target DNA at high temperature to separate the strand. So this is the template DNA, double-stranded DNA, that is act as a template DNA. So first step is that particular template DNA is heated at a high temperature. Because of that heating, what will happen? These two double-stranded DNA is separated to form single-stranded DNA. That process is called denaturation. Each strand acts as a template for DNA synthesis. Next step is annealing. What is annealing? It is the joining of the two primers at the 3' end of the DNA template. For this process, we require very low temperature. For denaturation, we need a high temperature. For annealing process, we need very low temperature at a 52 degrees Celsius. What is annealing? Joining of the two primer at the 3' end of the DNA template. 3' end of the DNA template. After denaturation, we got two single-stranded DNA template. Is it? So, after that, we are going to add two primer to where the 3' end of the DNA template. This is the 3' end. So we are adding two primer. What is primer? Primers are the chemically synthesized oligonucleotide. So we are adding this primer at the 3' end of the DNA template. So for this process, we need very low temperature, that is 52 degrees Celsius temperature. After that, the next step is extension. What extension? Primer extension. This primer is extending. How they are extending? By using the DNA polymerase enzyme. What is the DNA polymerase enzyme we are using? One of the thermostable DNA polymerase enzyme, that is called a Taq polymerase enzyme, that is isolated from the bacterium Thermus aquaticus. Thermus aquaticus. It remains active in high temperature during the denaturation of double-stranded DNA. So, with the help of that particular Taq polymerase DNA polymerase enzyme, we are adding the nucleotide to the primer. By adding the nucleotide to the primer, that primer will become extend and to make a two double-stranded DNA. Is it clear? Through continuous replication, the DNA segment is amplified up to 1 billion copies. The amplified fragment can be used to ligate with a vector for further cloning. So there are three steps involved in the process of PCR. First one is denaturation. After that, primer annealing. After that, extension. After that, insertion of recombinant DNA into host cell or organism. How can we insert? We already discussed about that particular insertion of recombinant DNA into the host cell. Is it clear? Using any method, the ligated DNA is introduced into recipient host cell. They take up DNA from its surrounding. Through vector or vectorless method, we can introduce that particular DNA into the host cell. If a recombinant DNA bearing ampicillin resistant gene, it is transferred into E. coli cells. Then host cell become ampicillin resistant cell. Transformed cells are spread on agar plate containing ampicillin. Only the transformant will grow and transformed recipient will die. Before we already explained how the transformant is selected from the non-transformant. So the fourth step, insertion of recombinant DNA into host cell. Through vector or vectorless method, we can transfer that particular recombinant DNA into host cell. Then fifth one, obtaining the foreign gene product. Obtaining the foreign gene product. The ultimate aim of the recombinant DNA technology is to produce a desirable protein. If a protein encoding foreign gene is expressed in heterologous host, that is called a recombinant protein. So this is the product. For obtaining this product in large quantities, we are using one of the device that is called a bioreactor. What is bioreactor? These are the vessels in which the raw materials like microbes, plant cells, animal cells, these all are biologically converted into specific products and enzyme, that is called a bioreactor. It is also used to produce large quantities of product. For getting desirable product, the bioreactor provides the optimal growth condition. Is it clear? So the most commonly used bioreactors are stirring type bioreactor or stirred tank bioreactor. Here two type of bioreactor is given. One is stirred tank bioreactor and another one is packed stirred tank bioreactor. Stirring type bioreactor consists of following parts: an agitator system. For what purpose? For mixing that particular material. One agitator system is present. Then an oxygen delivery system is present. A foam control system is present. Foam control system means foam means pada. Is it? For controlling the foam, one kind of system is present. Pada niyandrikkanulla oru system avadeyunde. Then a temperature control system, then pH control system and sampling ports for periodic withdrawal of the culture. These are the parts of bioreactor. So what is bioreactor? It is the vessel in which that raw material is biologically converted into specific products and enzymes. For that they are using the raw materials like microbes, plant cells and animal cells. The commonly used bioreactor is stirred type bioreactor or stirred tank type bioreactor. What are the parts of bioreactor? An agitator system for mixing, then an oxygen delivery system, a foam control system, a temperature control system, pH control system, sampling ports. Then the last step is downstream processing. Obtained from the bioreactor is not pure. That is the reason why that particular product is extracted and purified from the culture medium. That is called downstream processing. So it is a series of processes such as separation and purification of product after the biosynthetic. The product is formulated with suitable preservatives. Such a formulation undergoes clinical trials and strict quality controlling tests. So we got a product from the bioreactor, but that product is not pure. So that is the reason why that particular product is extracted and purified from the culture medium. That process is said to be downstream processing. How can we do that particular process? It is a series of processes such as first one, separation and purification of desirable product after the biosynthetic stage. First step is separation and purification of the product. After that, adding some suitable preservatives. If it is any drugs, we are going to next step, clinical trial test, and finally quality control test. So what are the steps involved in the process of recombinant DNA technology? First step, isolation of the genetic material, DNA, cutting of DNA at a specific location, amplification of the gene of interest using PCR, insertion of recombinant DNA into host cell, obtaining the foreign gene product, and downstream processing. Is it clear? This is the chapter. For your public exam, from these lessons, 4 mark questions will come. So that is the weightage of this particular chapter. Is it clear?